found it. So young adults below the age of 30 have really gravitated to it, because if you have children that age, you know, this age, this generation, they're natural seekers. So they're looking for things. They're finding things. So they totally get it. They totally get it.
Yeah. When I first heard about it, and I appreciate you explaining it, it was back in like 2013, and I'd had it done, but I didn't really get it then. You know, like working with you on it and hearing you speak about it in some clubhouse rooms that we do together, I'm starting to get it more and more. And, you know, how it can help you really be grounded and feel more confident in that is kind of neat. You know, how do people, like, wanted to ask you about when they're grounded. You know, we talked about the other day, you and I talked about this, of being adaptable, you know, as a strength. How can we use that to be grounded and adaptable at the same time as a strength for ourselves?
Yeah. So one of the things that we talked about is how often women will lose their grounding. Actually, when I really started thinking about it, obviously men can lose their grounding as well. But if we think about the nature of females, we are designed to be adaptable. Our physiology is designed to be adaptable, to change and morph from stage to stage through our bodies. And I'm curious that if that our biological adaptability also impacts our natural ability to lose our own grounding. And what I mean by that is, and part of the gift of the Enneagram is you learn not only your true essence. And so each of the numbers represents the symbology of the circle is the symbology of completeness and unity. And each one of the numbers, this is the spiritual part of it, represents an aspect of the divine. So all together, we represent an aspect of the divine. That's what we call in the Enneagram the holy ideas. At the top is holy love. I won't go through them all, but at the top is holy love. And so if you're familiar with the if you're familiar with the Christian verse, this is, and the greatest is he that is loved, well, that's why the 9 sits on top. So if we lose our sense of our purpose, why we're here on earth, very similar actually to in astrology, when you look at life path, like soul journey, like what if you were born during that time, that's what you're about. That's very similar to this. But as we become adaptable and we start taking in the opinions of others, the reflection of others, we sort of lose that sense. And so I was thinking about how, you know, a mirror, right? So if I'm always looking, if I'm always looking at you to find my reflection of me, while that is true, we all in relationship, that's what it's about. We don't get to stay in isolation and figure out who we are. We're always having to be in relationship with, getting reflected back. But if we don't have that sense of grounding on what are our gifts, what is our purpose, then we start morphing into all these different versions, and then we lose a sense of who am I really? And the essence of the Enneagram is all these crisscross patterns has built-in adaptability. We don't stay static in a number. We go to growth, we go to stress, we have relationship to the 2 beside. That's also the baked in empathy, because when we start having empathy for ourselves as we change and morph, we actually grow empathy for the other because we've actually stepped into their shoe. When me as a 7 goes to stress to the 1, then I have naturally stepped into the world of a 1. When I go to growth and I go to 5, I literally step into so I am baked into empathy when I realize where I'm not just doing it for, you know, just to confuse everybody around me. Like, why is she acting that way now? which sometimes you do that yourself. Like, why am I acting that way now? That
Oh,
may
yeah.
not be because you're being reflected. That may be because it's you. So then you start discerning that unconscious behavior is you, not just I'm behaving because someone else. There's a difference.
Mhm.
That
Yeah.
starts being grounded. That starts letting you know, you know what? This is purposeful that I go this way. When I retreat, that's not bad for me as a 7. I'm a butterfly. I'm flitting out here, like reflecting a lot of things. I have to come back into self to find that grounding.
That is so important, that going back into self to find that grounding, because I love what you shared. And, you know, as women, many of us are so adaptable. And I know for myself for too long, a little too adaptable, like I wasn't grounded in me. And what you shared about the Enneagram being, you know, my interpretation is that we move through some of the numbers, or we have one more predominant number, but we're not fixed in that, you know, and that part about stepping into someone else's shoes. I mean, that's powerful, like, because when we can step into their shoes and see them for who they really are from that vantage point instead of our own judgments. I mean, that's where a lot of internal and shifts in relationships, I feel like, can happen. I wanted to ask you then, if someone really wants to know which number is their number or their predominant number in relation to, I know we've talked for like a triad, how can they find out? Like what do they do to find out their number? Because it is, you said it was oral, but now it's written. So
Right.
where can they go?
Yeah. So, you know, there are many online tests. One of the best is the RHETI test, RHETI, because it's Russ Hudson. It's the Enneagram Institute, which has the most empirical data out there as a typing tool. Not to say that other tools are bad. It's just that they have the most longevity scientifically for their test. It can be a little bit confusing because it's not one that's going to spit out a number. What it's going to do is it's going to tell you your top 4. And what that's really pointing to is that the Enneagram is a journey. It's not a destination. So it is through the discovery of what your number is part of the journey of the Enneagram. So that can be sometimes confusing. And underneath all, it is your motivation. And that's another part that is confusing to people because they're like, well, I like to get things done. I'm goal oriented. I must be a performer. Yeah. Well, I'm also goal oriented and I like to get things done. And I don't resonate with shame, which the 3 is in the performers in the shame triad. I also don't resonate with image oriented. That's not I'm in the fear triad. So when someone said shame or fear, hands down, I knew which one it was. Also, though, when you look at the motivation, I think we talked about this the other day, is how do you really know if you're like struggling with what your number is? There is an underlying motivation that each one of them are motivated. And I'll just walk you